Happy Valentine's Day, chatters. I'm Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to the Crime Chat, Love Edition. I am your forensic femme fatale, and Natalie is your true crime addict connoisseur.
We're just two girls who are happy that you're with us this evening, you filthy animals. Just come join us as we obsess about dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown.
Here is your disclaimer. The following Crime Chat contains adult content and descriptions of potentially and very likely violent scenarios. Your listener discretion is advised.
Yes, you have been warned.
And I can't wait to hear the details of your story today because I think it's so prolific, right? Just St. Valentine's Day Massacre. People probably know of it. They probably read about it in history books, but what are the deets? Like what's it all about? But like I said, also in previous episodes, we were watching Boardwalk Empire, and it was all about the Roaring 20s. They had a character with Al Capone in it. And I'm excited to hear kind of what that's all about, right?
I'm obsessed with the Roaring 20s. Like I've hosted Gatsby parties. For like my organization, we've hosted Gatsby parties, like where, you had to have a password, and and at one point I had these huge, like, what do you call ostrich feather like arrangements in the center of my dining room. Like it was normal, like to me, like like it's a beautiful era, and it was really just glamorous, and I love it.
Yes. Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Before we get into that, I have a few Valentine's Day tidbits that you might be interested in. Have you ever like searched Valentine's Day stories, like crazy stories that have happened around here, like around this time frame?
Just for this chat, I honestly, before this chat, I didn't realize how many crazy things have happened on such a, loving holiday.
It's a loving holiday, right?
Holiday.
So as I was going through and kind of getting some of the background and stuff for the intro, right? I read some stories that made me blush, just reading them, the amount of detail and things that happened. But
like
anywhere
50 Shades blushing, or like,
yes,
really?
Like,
okay.
Put that crap out on the internet, and I'm just like, damn. Okay. But from 17 and Glamour magazines, the love of your life, how to spoil them on Valentine's Day, right? You get the stories about the first date fumbles, getting broken up with or dumped on Valentine's Day, and even some sexy time adventures that go wrong. Murder, of course, was also right up there with these tales of true love. But what is Valentine's Day all about, Charlie Brown? And by the way, did you hear about the man who voiced the original Charlie Brown? He just passed away.
You told me that. What's his name? I didn't know what is. Yeah, I don't know who he is. It's crazy how we don't know. Yeah, Charlie Brown is, we
don't really know like about those kind of things, right? Well, his name was Peter Robbins. He battled long-term bipolar disability with mental illness. He struggled with addiction. He was in and out of prison for many, many years, aggravated assault, making threats, that kind of thing. His family reported that he took his own life last week.
Oh.
He was 69 years old, but was only 9 when he started and was the voice of Charlie Brown when Charlie Brown started.
I was going to say 69 is really young for Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown's been around for a while. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, God rest in peace.
Yes. Well, back to National Day of Love and the history. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, Valentine's or St. Valentine's Day is a day when lovers express their affection with greetings and gifts. Given similarities, it has been suggested that the holiday has origins in the Roman festival of Lupercalia, which is held in mid-February. The festival celebrated the coming of spring, and that included fertility rites and the pairing off of women by men with a lottery.
Oh God.
At the end of the 5th century, Pope Gelasius I forbid the celebration of Lupercalia, and it is sometimes attributed to replacing it with St. Valentine's Day. But the true origin of the holiday is actually really, really vague at best. Valentine's Day did not come to be celebrated as a day of romance until the 14th century. So just that little tidbit is like, wow, I would think it would have been around a lot longer than that. But acknowledging it as St. Valentine's Day, yeah, it's only been about what, 600-700 years, something like that. Formal messages or valentines appeared in the 1500s, and by the late 1700s, commercially printed cards were being used. So like cards of showing your affection, like your Valentines and that kind of thing. The commercial Valentines in the United States, those cards were printed in the mid 1800s. It only dates back to then. So that's not even really that long ago. Valentine's commonly depicts Cupid, who was the Roman god of love, along with hearts, traditionally at the seat of emotion. Because it was thought that the avian mating season begins in mid-February, birds also became a symbol of the day. Traditional gifts include candy, flowers, particularly red roses, a symbol of beauty and love. But there are also many instances, one of which you're going to go over today, that aren't so lovey-dovey. One more quick crazy V-Day story before you talk about this mess of a massacre. You may have heard of this one. An adult mentally disabled woman was murdered while her parents were in the other room. On St. Valentine's Day in 2007, Art and Lois Sarin went to visit their 39-year-old daughter, Jodine, in her condo. She was mentally disabled, but able to live independently. However, her parents would frequently check on her and kind of make sure that she was doing okay. When the Sarins arrived at the condo that night, the lights were all on, but they could not unlock the front door because the chain was latched. After receiving no answer when they called out to the daughter, Jodine, Art, the dad, busted open the door, and then he walked into her darkened bedroom to find his daughter having sex with an unidentified man. Art told the man to get dressed and leave while he and the mom waited in the other room. Several minutes passed. Jodine had not come out to meet her parents, and then the Sarins returned to the bedroom to find Jodine's lifeless nude body lying on the bed.
Oh my God.
She was beaten and strangled to death. Incredibly, Jodine's killer had been brazen enough to murder her while her parents were still inside the apartment and somehow managed to sneak out before they discovered what had happened. It's also possible the sex between Jodine and her killer was not consensual, and her parents unknowingly walked in on her while she was in the midst of being raped. DNA evidence was collected at the time from the scene, but it took 11 years to find out who the killer was through genetic genealogy. That's a blast from last episode. The killer was identified as David Mabrito, who coincidentally killed himself 6 years ago. Mabrito was 38 years old at the time of Jodine's murder. His suicide occurred shortly before the 4th anniversary of her death. So how sure is the evidence that Mabrito was the killer? 1 in 64 quintillion.
Oh my God.
And that's a number with 18 zeros in it.
So that's stronger than a maybe.
Yes, that's a little bit stronger than
a little
maybe.
stronger than a maybe. Term speak easy basically is the way a person would come and order a drink. They would not, in order to not raise suspicion, bartenders would tell the patrons to be quiet and speak easy.
And just again, I'll probably make a few Boardwalk Empire references, but just throughout that, when it was during Prohibition, they would serve the alcohol in mugs. Make it look like coffee.
So in the city, in New York City, we do have a really old speakeasy called the 21 Club. And it's famous, and a lot of presidents go there, and a lot of just politicians go there. And it's got a dark history, but they have not changed it since the 1920s. And when you go in and you ask the hostess, you say, "Hey, I want to tour. the wine room. So at that point, they'll take you, because not everybody knows to ask for that. So if you ask for it, they'll take you downstairs and you walk through the kitchen and you go down these steps that, I mean, the ceiling is like maybe 5 feet. So you're scrunched down going downstairs into this old brownstone building. And then you walk up to this huge brick wall, and there's this little pin that the waiter will give you. And he's like, here's the pin, here's the key. And see that little hole in the wall? And it's a little itty bitty hole in between the bricks. He goes, stick the key in the hole, and you stick it in, and you hear the entire wall click. And then you push the brick wall. It's something that when I tell you, it's insane. You can go online and look at the video of them doing it. You push the brick wall, and behind the brick wall is a almost like a old-fashioned clock into working like lock with all the gears. And it was made, I think there was a Swiss lock, some designer came down, and he wasn't from here, but he designed this whole contraption so the authorities could not figure, even if they came down and raided, they weren't thinking something was past that brick wall. And when you go in, you're going down. So first you're going to hit we hit these like aisles of the wine cellar. So the walls were just lined with wine bottles, and you would have wine bottles from Elizabeth Taylor, from Ronald Reagan. And their thing is like, once you buy a wine bottle, it stays there. So Elizabeth Taylor's wine is still there. One of her descendants can go there and actually drink it. Wow. But it's there forever. Like, it's just there.
You can't buy it and take it with you. It stays there.
It stays there.
Wow.
So beyond that, there is a literal hole in the wall. And when I say a hole, I mean maybe 4 feet wide, 4 feet tall. And you have to crawl into people in dresses are crawling into this hole. And it leads you into this huge boardroom with this enormous oak table, and all the walls aligned with wine bottles. And there's a booth where Jimmy Walker, the mayor of New York City at the time of Prohibition, he used to go there to drink. And there's a famous scene where, like, this was the party room. This was the speakeasy. And it's technically not even in the building. It's not on a map. It's in the other building, in the other brownstone that is attached to it, in the basement.
Oh, wow.
Fascinating. But the zoning committee at the time would not report this room. So the room itself is still not on anybody or zoning radar. You can't find it. Wow. Like, if you go to locate, like, you know how you could see like the building permits and it's not there.
Wow.
And there's a story where Jimmy Walker, while he was drinking, he didn't want to be disturbed, and the police were about to raid the 21 Club, and he got word. So what he did while he was stuck in the room behind the brick wall is he called in and said, "Hey, tow the cars, tow all the police cars, tow them."
Yeah,
and that's what he did, and he was able to walk out of there. Wow. It's really cool. Like, I love
cool. We ever make it back up to New York City, then
we'll go.
We'll look it up. Yes,
I'll take you.
Yay!
So, all right. So the United States Prohibition era created quite a mess for the 1920s and the 1930s. The bootlegging trade provided alcohol to the thirsty masses while putting money in the hands of the wrong people, basically. Along with music and hidden watering holes, the Prohibition era also gave birth to mobsters. Yes, we love mobsters.
Yes.
Modern day Western culture has a thing for romanticizing these crime bosses. You're hooked on one. What is that show?
Boardwalk Empire.
Boardwalk Empire.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah, they basically are staples in our pop culture, and no crime boss was more famous than Al Capone himself, the Scarface, a nickname he hated, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that. I didn't know he didn't like the name. So Kat, today for my crime chat, we're gonna be talking about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We all heard of it.
Lots of killing.
Lots of killing. Lots of murder.
Lots of murder.
So our criminal today is Mr. Al Capone himself.
Yeah.
And let's face it, he could hold a grudge.
Mm-hmm.
He was a force to be reckoned with. Just ask the ones who he murdered on allegedly, let me correct myself, Mr. Capone, allegedly murdered on St. Valentine's Day during the massacre, where his gang allegedly his gang took 7 members of George Bugs Moran's Irish mob. I gotta say that over again. Our criminal today, Al Capone, let's face it, he could hold a grudge. Just ask those who were murdered in the St. Valentine's Day massacre, where his gang took out 7 members of George Bugs Moran's Irish mob on February 14th, 1929. I know. And by the way, chatters, I am Irish and Italian.
Oh, so you're torn between 2 lovers.
I'm torn between, right, exactly. And you know what? That's a big thing in New York. Like the Irish and Italian is a very big mix.
Yes, it is.
So Al Capone was the ultimate gangster. He entered the crime world when he was a teen in New York and then moved to Illinois to help run the Chicago outfit. In 1925, the 26-year-old Capone became the kingpin of bootlegging, prostitution, racketeering, murder, and gambling. That's quite a resume.
Oh, yeah.
That's quite a resume. Capone, aka Scarface, did it all during the Prohibition era, making a fortune along the way.
Yes.
So Capone has been immortalized, basically, thanks to noteworthy films. But the real deal would have made fans think twice before sending their love. As charming as Capone was in front of the camera and to reporters, he's believed to have killed enough people to make you sick.
Yeah.
And he did it all for power and cash. All of it. Greed.
All of it. Yes. I want the power.
Power and cash. Being on Capone's bad side wasn't somewhere you wanted to be.
Oh,
and
no.
And the St. Valentine's Day massacre is generally believed to be one of the most prime examples of this. The execution style killings were an attempt by Capone, or so it's believed, allegedly, to take care of his longtime rival, George Bugs Moran.
It's crazy. I mean, to be honest, like how our paths have crossed and we have so much in common. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So we don't want to leave anybody hanging. So for more information on this case, we're going to have everything on after the crime chat on our Patreon.
On Patreon, that you only get all the goods if you subscribe. Yes. So in order to see what's coming up, you also need to follow us on all your social media with CrimeChat NetCat. Just search that. Or on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. We'll tease kind of what's coming up, but